Morning, YouTube. I'm going to take a little while this morning to look back at the 5 steps in being wealthy. And I've been through step 1 and step 2, and I'm going to skip just a little bit forward. And what I find is that when I go about and I explain to someone these steps, they can't practically see what they could do about them, and that prohibits them from going to action. So I wanted to take you through some of the things I'm doing today on the 5 steps, and kind of what some of those results would be. So as you remember, here's the sheet we kind of talked through. The 5 steps for 7 to 10 year wealth. You've got saving half your income. You've got putting half that savings to work in a systematic investment plan. You've got use procrastination, forward thinking, systems to prepare for future to create gains. You've got number 4, which is learning new investment types, and number 5, which is disproportionate risk reward investments. Now, I think people really want to get to number 5. But the fact is that they want to jump through 1, 2, 3, and 4 without doing them to get to 5. And so what they do is they go buy, lottery tickets or things like that. And so that doesn't get you a very good return from a risk-reward standpoint. So right now what I'm working on, a couple things are, number 1, I'm selling a house. Now, the house I bought from HUD for, very inexpensively. And so I had a lot of baggage on the house. It wasn't a rental. It was just a house I had. And so when I went to sell it, instead of selling it myself with kind of an attached value to it based on what I purchased it for, I went to a real estate expert and I just said, go sell this house. And I gave them complete, freedom and leeway to price it how they thought it was worth. And, they probably priced it high at first, which is what you should do if you're smart. But they knew I was patient. And so then we dropped the price. And we got about 4 different bidders on it. And we sold it for, closes the end of this month for, almost double what I would have thought it was worth. And so that falls into your forward thinking and your systems. One of the systems I use is, if something I can't sell at a premium, I have someone else that I've arranged to sell that asset for me that can sell it at a premium. The second thing I did in this situation is I did some forward thinking, and instead of thinking next year while I file my taxes at the tax implications of that property sale, I looked at it now. I would have had to pay about $40,000 in taxes. Instead of that, I set up to do a 1031 exchange. So, savings for now on that is about $40,000. So sale of a house, let's say I made an additional $140,000. Let's fix that real quick. So selling it this way, I paid about $140,000 more than I would have gotten, and we'll subtract off, some of those fees here, and we'll just say $120,000. I had the choice in this sale between, selling the house and buying another house. Selling the house by paying taxes and buying into Bitcoin or something else like that, or a different asset I understood. I asked some of my advisors, and they tell me, buy a little stock and a little crypto and a little real estate. So what I decided to do was take a different property than I had and take a loan out at 3.85% fixed for 5 years, and then go ahead and find the property I want. Now, this is a disproportionate risk reward investment for me, and the reason is because this house is in a place that I know exactly what it will rent for. I know exactly the value. I know the problems. I have a team arranged to manage it. And so it's a disproportionate risk reward investment for me because of those factors. So we're taking the sale of the house, which we're selling for $120,000 more. We're doing a 1031 exchange, which is going to save us $40,000 in taxes. We're taking a loan at 3.85%, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we're buying this house that is a disproportionate risk reward investment because it's in a place we know, which this house will rent for probably $13.50 per month. So on sale of this house, in addition, my expenses will go down by $300 per month on that house. So this is all kind of what I see as one kind of transaction cycle and how I'm optimizing the transaction. Now, the last thing is, I'll end up with, this house at $13.50 more per month, off of $300 expenses, the $120 here extra, the $40 here extra, which helped out his house. So I'll end up with an extra, several $100,000. And my thoughts on that, and I haven't made a final decision, was a couple things. So let me show you one more graph to show you, a big risk right now that people maybe don't see and don't understand. So this is real quickly a graph of the money supply right here. So here's your dollars going up, and here's it compared to average U.S. wages. So as you can see, inflation is occurring right here, okay? So I'll show you that, okay? So this is a major risk, is inflation occurring. So if we go back to that chart and we see what this sets us up for, a house is an inflation protection, number one. A loan is an inflation protection because you borrow the money at one value of $1 and you pay it back at a lower value of the dollar as it deflates, right? This house, was fine from that standpoint. 1031 doesn't matter. But GUSD or stablecoin is paying 9% or 10% right now. So my strategy here using this has been to be maybe 50% in cash and 50% in stablecoin for the money that I'm trying to save to take advantage of future opportunities. And so then I'll end up with maybe a blended maybe 4.5% rate on my money. Now the 4.5%, what I'm hoping will compensate for this curve right here, and I'll end up with a lower risk on this investment, on this just cash that I have here, right? And as you can see, even the 4.5% will cover my loan rate here on that cash. So loan rate's covered. Some risk in stablecoin, but also risk in inflation you have to balance out that people don't see, but is nonetheless real. Now lastly, and I won't go way into this, but on number 4, what I did yesterday was I had some Solana that I bought as an experiment, and I used Soulflare that you see behind me here and a Ledger wallet to stake that and create income off of that Solana. Now I don't know if that investment is going to pay out. Right now the capital side is about twice as high as when I bought it at, and the income is probably like 6.6%, which is fine. But I'll be able to, watching that investment, see what the returns are, what the fluctuations are, and possibly later be able to do another disproportionate risk reward investment with Solana as a new asset class. And so that's what I wanted to cover today. Like and subscribe down below in the video. If you want more in future videos, I'll cover step number 3 more in detail, 4 and 5 also, and kind of how I think about those things and do them. But I just wanted to give you an example of what I was doing right now to take advantage of those 5 steps and kind of what those dollar figures for some of those returns looked like at the present time. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later.